Hi everybody and welcome to this webinar on finding your happiness. I'm Laura Roberts, I'm a life coach and I founded Create Your Ideal Future earlier this year. So this webinar is all about finding your happiness, working out what it is that really makes you happy, what fulfills you, what engages you and what makes you smile. Before we get started on that, I just wanted to give you a bit of background about me, my journey, why I'm here and why I'm really passionate about what I do. So this was me, not me literally, but this was how I felt at my old job. I was there for 5 years. It was really boring. I just couldn't believe that I'd been there for that long. I was probably there for 3 years too long. It was fine. It was easy enough to do. I enjoyed the people that I worked with, and there was a lot of security there. I knew that my monthly paycheck was coming in, and I knew that I would be okay there to stay there for a long time. However, I just spent every day watching the clock, waiting for it to tick around, for it to be 5 o'clock and time to go home. And I stayed there because I felt very comfortable there and safe there, but I realised that it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life and that I needed to make a change. I needed to do something else. But I found it hard to find the inspiration of what to do next until one day when I went to this concert in London. I was in Hyde Park. And watching this concert, and it was called Live 8. It was back in 2005, and it was fantastic. There was so much fun, so many great acts to see. U2 played, Madonna, Robbie Williams, various other Scissor Sisters, and all sorts of different people. And it was a lot of fun, nice day out in the park. But it had a message, a really strong message, and it was building on the momentum from the campaign they'd done about 20 years earlier, the Band-Aid, to help make poverty history and to encourage the G8 leaders in the countries, people in countries more well off than other countries, to actually make a difference around the world and make sure that the promises that those countries had made to the less well off countries were going to be kept. And I went along and enjoyed myself, but in between each of the performances, there was somebody saying, some famous person coming on and doing this really profound act of just clicking their fingers every 2 seconds. So click, click, click. And every 2 seconds, a child in the world dies. And that message just really hit home to me, that this was something that didn't need to happen. And I had a responsibility to change it. And I was there with all these other people in a relatively wealthy country, and that I had the opportunity here to really make a difference and stop sitting in my old boring job and actually get out and do something about it. I felt a real kind of duty, a sense of responsibility to make a change. So immediately I didn't know what that change was going to be for me. But I knew I wanted to do something different. So I spent a bit of time researching and found a great charity called SPW, who partner international volunteers with volunteers from countries around the world. And the programme that I was part of was in Tanzania, which is down in East Africa, just south of Kenya. So I went and lived in Tanzania for 8 months. I learnt to speak Swahili, and I taught children in a village about HIV and AIDS. I taught them about, sexual health and reproduction, pregnancy, and things like decision making and women's rights and equality and things like that. So there were children and young people in the community, and I was helping to change their lives, really, helping to change their opinions on things and stopping them getting infected with the HIV virus. And while I was there, I got lots of help and support from friends back home and encouragement to be there, including this care package which turned up with some toilet seat wipes, which were really helpful because this was my toilet with flies all over it, mud bricks, and a drop toilet. So I took a picture of this to say thank you for sending me some toilet seat wipes. I hadn't seen a toilet seat for about 6 months at that point. So it was a lot of fun there. I met some amazing people. And my counterpart volunteer, Panina, who's in the back of that photo in the middle, she was just incredible and my hero, my support, and helped me through quite difficult times living in that village in the middle of nowhere with no electricity, no running water. And she really inspired me really to carry on and to push through all those challenging times and to really enjoy it, to live each moment to the full. She definitely helped me out, and I really hope that I've helped her as well, with things like helping her with her English a little bit, although it's already fantastic, but also giving her the confidence and the ability to stand up for herself, to know how important she is, and to continue with her education and her independence. So then after that 8 months in Tanzania, I came back to lovely London, and I realised that what I really needed to do was focus on what was important to me, and I got a job in a wonderful charity called Every Child. And while I was there, I was managing a really big team of fundraisers and people coming in and out of the team a lot. So I was doing lots of training with them. So at the charity, I did an 8-month certificate in learning and development practice to help people, to help adults learn, basically, to understand, build on my knowledge of non-formal education, and to make sure that people coming into the role knew what they were doing, and so on. Part of that course was coaching, which I'd never heard of before. I knew about sports coaching, but I'd never heard of life coaching before. And it was something that I felt I was really good at, and it was just so powerful. I just had the ability within such a short time, within even a short 15 or 20-minute conversation, to make a really big impact on someone's life. And that's something that I feel incredibly passionate about, to be able to just reflect back to people what they're saying and help them to, work out what they want to do next, and help them really take actions on things that they've wanted to do for a long time but haven't been able to do, until somebody puts a mirror up to them and reflects back what they want and helps them achieve it. So although I loved the job, I knew that coaching was the thing that I wanted to do for my future. I wanted to set up my own business and be a full-time coach. So as part of that journey, I needed lots of practice clients to get my qualifications and my accreditation, which I now have. And one of those practice clients was Marie, who's a wonderful woman and a good friend of mine who I was in Tanzania with. Marie was stuck in a job that she wasn't very happy with, was, going along in the motions similarly to how I was previously. And she knew that she needed a change. And luckily she had a clear idea of what her ideal job was for the future, but she just wasn't getting it. She'd applied for a couple of them, hadn't got an interview, and knew that unfortunately she didn't have all of the skills that she needed to get this role. She also felt that because a lot of the jobs were on the East Coast in the States, and she lives in Colorado, which is over in the Midwest, that it wouldn't be easy for her to move. She was married and she didn't want to, live apart from her husband again. And so she was really struggling with what to do next, and she felt quite lost and a bit stuck in what to do. So when I was asking for practice clients, she put her hand up and said, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to find out more about how I can change my life and what I can do differently, because she'd been feeling like she was going round and round in circles doing the same thing. So I was able to help her to work out really what it was that was important to her. What were those key things that were totally 100% important? And I helped her to establish what scenarios were there available to her in her situation, because obviously she needed to stay in the city she was in. So there were only so many jobs out there. So what could she actually do in the place she was at? We went through lots of scenarios, and we kind of, scored them against her values and how important they were. And she soon saw within about 2 or 3 sessions that what she needed to do was to get a job locally, which gave her the skills to get the bigger job that she was really excited about, so that she could then get that perfect job in the future. She knew that she needed to work on that, and then she realised that she would be able to get that role closer to home. So within about 6 weeks, she'd been offered that perfect job, the perfect interim job to get her on her way. And she's been there now for about 2.5 years and is really happy. And she's got loads of new skills, loads of new contacts, and she's on her way to getting the job of her dreams in the future. She's just had a baby, so I'm sure that will be impacting on what she's going to have in her future, and what her priorities are and what she wants. But I know now that she's got the skill to really evaluate her life and what's happening in it, what's important to her, and making sure that every moment counts and she's doing the right thing for herself all the time. So back to me again. Earlier this year, I set up my own business, Create Your Ideal Future. I really wanted to be able to help people to establish what it was that they wanted in their careers, in their future, and help them to achieve it. I feel really passionate about this. I want to create a happier world. I want to make an impact on the world, and this is how I'm doing it. So, on to finding your happiness and working out what that means for you, working out what's important to you and how you want to translate that into your daily life. First of all, I thought let's talk about what is happiness. It's quite a big topic. Some people think of it as a pleasurable experience, like eating a bar of chocolate or having a nice cup of coffee. Maybe it's something that gives you joy, like spending time with friends who make you laugh, or maybe it's an event like a wedding or the birth of a child. Maybe it's scenery. Maybe it's, looking at a beautiful landscape, mountain, beach, that kind of thing. However, although these things do give us pleasure in the short term, I feel that they're quite transient. And you might be having your bar of chocolate, but then it finishes. And then how do you feel at the end of that? Maybe you feel a bit guilty for having chocolate. Maybe you feel a bit full or a bit sick. Same with other things like spending time with friends. Maybe, that obviously comes to an end as well. And maybe there are moments when you're not laughing all of the time and not having a great time with them and you're getting a bit tired and you want to go home. And likewise with events and scenery, they're just quite transient times. You can't live like that all of the time, and they don't give you that same sense of pleasure all of the time. So I believe happiness is more a long-term sense of feeling and a long-term thing rather than transient pleasurable experiences that we have, that we experience. So I believe that happiness can be achieved by making the most out of every moment we have, by consciously living a life we want to live that reflects who we are and is true to ourselves. So it's about really, all we've got is the present moment. We haven't got the future and we haven't got the past. We've lived in the past already, that's already happened, and the future is yet to happen and we can change it. All we've actually got that we can do anything about is this very moment that we're in now. So I believe life is very short as well, and that we have to make the most of every moment we have by understanding what it is that makes us happy, and by understanding, what gives us pleasure, what gives us joy, and making sure that every decision we make has that in mind, and ensuring that that life that we've chosen to live reflects who we are and making sure that we're true to ourselves. So to make a start on that journey, you need to identify your core values, have clarity on what makes them important to you, understand how they need to be reflected in your ideal future. So you need to be really sure about what your core values are, what's super, super important to you, what are the things that make you who you are, and get really clear on what it is about them that makes them important to you, because then you'll really understand them. Everybody's different, everyone's got different reasons that their values are relevant to them, and it's really good if you understand what is it about your values that's important to you. And then you can move on to understanding how they need to be reflected in your ideal future. So understanding really what it is that you can do to make sure that your values are there and reflected there. Okay, so let's start by identifying your values. So grab a piece of paper and a pen and brainstorm all the things that are important to you. So write down all the different things that are important. It could be family, friends, respect, truthfulness, honesty, integrity, creativity, all sorts of things like that. Write down all those things that are important to you. Think about what matters most to you in the world. And what must you have in your life to be happy? Those things that are really, really important that make you very happy. Now, this might be quite easy for you. You might have some ideas already of what your values are, but you might need a bit of support and encouragement and advice on that. So what I've done is I've prepared a list of different values here. So here's all sorts of different things. If you need a bit more time to go through and find your 8 core values, just pause this recording here. Take your time, have a look through this list, think of other things, think of things that have meant things to you in the past, that have been part of your life that you don't have now that you would really like. Think about things maybe that you see in other people that you would really like to have in your life that are really important to you. and get down to 8 things, just 8. It's important to narrow it down because then you're clear about what you need to have and you can make decisions based on that. I think if you have too many, then you can become a bit distracted by one or the other. Whereas if you narrow it down to 8, then you can be really clear that those are the really key things that you need to have in your life. So as I say, if you need to pause this recording now, then do so. Otherwise, if you've got your 8, let's carry on. So, checking in with what's important to you. So go through your list, or my list, and pick your top 8 values. So really narrow them down to those 8. Then I want you to write those down. And next to each value, write down what makes that one important to you. What is it about that value that is really, really important to you? And how could that be included in your ideal future, in your life? How is that going to come into your life? So go through each of them. Again, if you need a bit more time for this, just pause the video. Think about how these are reflected in your life right now. Can you tick them all off and say, yep, that's all happening in my life, that's great? Or are there some gaps? Are there things that you're not finding at the moment, you're not getting in your life that you would like to be getting in your life? So just in whatever way makes sense to you, highlight them, number them, put a circle around the ones that are important, and really get on top of what it is for you that you want to see more of. Again, if you need to spend more time on this, just press pause and go through that yourself. Okay, so what's next? The next steps, now you've got your list of values, what do you need to do with them? So I believe that to be happy, you need to ensure that these values are reflected in everything you do. So I really truly believe that in order for us to be happy, you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing, all aspects of your life, your values are reflected, because then you won't be happy. If that's not happening, you won't be happy. You might be happy some of the time, but you won't be happy all of the time. And I think that's really important for you to be true to yourself. And if you're stuck in a really difficult situation and your values can't be reflected in one aspect of your life right now because you have to live where you live, or you have to spend time with somebody, or you have to be in a job, then work out what else could change in your life, how you could get your values from somewhere else in your life. Now, I'm going to be a bit challenging here, because what I believe is that life should 100% be lived in accordance to your values. So if there is a situation that you're stuck in, please do let me know what that is, and let me see if I can help you work out how to get out of it. Because if your values are not being met in that situation is going to be bringing you down and making you unhappy. So really you need to think clearly about what's more important to you. Is that situation more important to you, or are your values more important to you? So really have a think about that. And again, try and work out where else in your life you can make the most of your values and get them crammed in as much as possible. So, coming to the end of that exercise, people often think, well, okay, now I know what my values are and I need to make them more present in my life. And that's it. In reality, a lot of people don't end up making any changes on their own, and they end up doing the same thing over and over and remaining unhappy. They just stay on the same path, not doing anything about it. And I'd really like to change that. I had a bit of a eureka moment when I was back in my boring job, when I decided that I needed to move on, which was when I felt like I was on an escalator. And I was, going on the escalator behind everybody else. I couldn't actually see the top, what was going on at the top of the escalator. But, I thought, well, I'm on this path and it's probably the right path for me, so I'll just stay on, holding on to the handrail, going upwards, and I'll hope for the best at the top is the right thing for me. But what I realised was, who knows what's at the top of that escalator? I can't see it, I don't know. And I could be completely on the wrong escalator entirely. And although it felt scary to jump off the escalator, that's what I had to do. And I had to make sure that I was on the right path and doing the right thing. And I had the courage and I did it. And I think that change in my life has been so powerful. And knowing that I'm doing the right thing now is just incredible. because you need to be 100% sure that what you're doing is right, and I think life is so short, you need to make the most of it. So I'd really like to change that kind of complacency that a lot of us feel, that we're just on that path and we're trudging along and we're going to get to retirement and so on. And I'd like to sort of challenge that and say, actually, I need to check back and make sure that what I'm doing really matters to me and is really important to me. And I want to do something really powerful with my life and I want to be happy. So what do you want to do next? What do you want to do with this piece of paper with your values on it that you've got? Just have a think about why you signed up for this call. Do you want to be the person who leaves their values list on their desk, on a shelf, under the bed, never to see it again? Or do you want to be a person who grabs that list with both hands and makes a decision to take the next step on their journey to create their ideal future? Which one would you like to be? So something you could do next is join me for a 3-week bootcamp. You'll create a step-by-step plan personalised to you to make your ideal future happen. You'll get worksheets and access to 3 webinars and a private Facebook group where you can share your stories, successes and challenges with others on the group. After just 3 weeks, you'll know where you're going and how you're going to get there. So you'll get a really clear plan in your hands. You'll get to create that yourself. You'll know what you want to get out of your future and you'll know how you're going to make it happen. So in terms of tangible things, you'll get worksheets sent over to you. You'll get instant access to the first webinar, and then the second and third webinars will come over to your inbox within a week and then another week. You'll get access instantly to a private Facebook group where you can meet other people similar to you and share how things are going. And then in just 3 weeks, what you're going to have is to know where you're going and how you're going to get there. You're going to have a really clear idea of what's at the top of that escalator. You're going to know 100% that you're on the right escalator and you're going to be getting to your ideal future. So for one small payment of £47, you'll get instant access to the worksheets and the first webinar so that you can get started straight away. And over the next 2 weeks, you'll have each webinar delivered direct to your inbox so you can listen in at a time that suits you and you can listen as many times as you need to get the most out of it. So these webinars are recorded and you'll be able to jump into them whenever it's right for you. You can use the worksheets along with it or you can listen first and then use the worksheets as many times as you want. And by the end of the bootcamp, you'll have a crystal clear idea of what's important to you and what exactly you must have in your future. You'll have a structured plan of how you're going to get to your ideal future. You'll have a chance to reflect on how you're doing, what obstacles you've faced and how you can overcome them. You'll get support from me and from others in the same situation to help you make the changes you need to make. And most importantly of all, you'll get the confidence that you need to make the changes, sure in the knowledge that they're the right changes for you. So you'll be 100% sure that these are the right things you want to do and you'll be confident in that and you'll know that jumping off that escalator is exactly the right thing that you want to do. So where you sign up, you can sign up now at createyouridealfuture.com/bootcamp. You'll get instant access to the worksheets and the first webinar so you can build on your momentum from today to make the changes in your life you want to make. So the next step is just to go for it. Let me know how you get on, and if you have any questions, my email address is laura@createyouridealfuture.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to help you create your ideal future.